Hey guys, welcome back. This is your host Phil from underKG.com. Today we're going to take a look on the Nokia 6. Let's start with the design. What you see is a black squarish phone, and it has a bit of an edgy design. You can see the obvious chamfered edges on the four sides of the phone. These are way too sharp, making it one of the most uncomfortable phones in terms of grip. And while the phone has a matte finish, making you believe that it's going to be an easy care phone, it actually isn't. It's really prone to sweat and fingerprints, making it really hard to keep clean unless you have a case attached on it. But I do like the fingerprint reader position, which is in center, and this is a touch-sensitive key. It's not a button, it doesn't click. And when you unlock the phone, you see the display. It's a 5.5 inch of full HD IPS panel, and I'm not a fan of it. The display is too pale, it's way too bluish, and that's not the only problem. It doesn't have the white balance settings, and the colors are too fluorescent-ish. The green and blue really pop. That makes it a lot more saturated in a very weird way. And also, this one might be my personal problem, but the touch sensitivity was a little bit awkward. It was way too sensitive often. So when I was scrolling around the phone, it sometimes cut off my scrolling because it thought that some other part of the screen was touched. And the performance itself is okay. RAM and storage might vary depending on the region, but all of them have Snapdragon 430 octa-core processor, and Snapdragon 430 isn't a bad processor at all. I've seen really smooth and fluid phones touting one of those. But this one wasn't the best example. It certainly isn't slow, but as you have just seen, it requires a little bit of patience, and when you're scrolling around, the frames are not exactly smooth. And while I'm not that happy with the performance, software is very clean. It's near stock Android, and they have been providing timely security patches as soon as they were available. But the camera itself is simply horrible. First off, white balance is way too off all the time. I think they just randomly choose a white balance out of a color palette. And number two, photos look way oversaturated with no clear details. And number three, photos are shaken way too often. You may force enable HDR right there to make your photo a little better because, again, automatic mode doesn't really do anything. It takes two different photos and it shows you while it's taking two different photos, and it takes a long time. The camera app is ugly, it's not organized, it doesn't really do a good job, it's not beautiful. This is one of the worst cameras I've ever seen in 2017. I think developer kits have better camera app than this. So that was the camera department, and next up is audio. It's got a stereo speaker, one speaker on bottom and one on top, utilizing the very same speaker for the phone calls. It does have Dolby surround sound. It doesn't really help that much. It's got 2 minutes music and theater. The good thing is that it's got an earphone jack on top. Not my favorite position because I like my headphone cable coming down like that rather than coming up from there. But still, in 2017, we should be thankful for the existence of the jack. Now, something that I was genuinely happy with was the battery life. It gave me 5 hours of screen on time pretty reliably. It's not the best, it's not impressive, but it certainly is one of the better battery lives. Something that isn't as good is the charging time. It charges via micro USB port on the bottom, which is relatively an older standard, but it's a mid-ranger, so I can just let it go. It takes around 3 hours. It doesn't have quick charge, it doesn't have any fancy tech, so 3 hours is what you need. And with all those things combined, here comes the verdict time. In short, this is not a Nokia. I try really hard not to think that it's built by a Taiwanese manufacturer, but I couldn't help but notice little details just scream out Honghai precision. I mean, look at that, screen calibration, camera quality, and metal finishes. This really isn't much different than other cheaper phones. And that is a problem because this isn't cheap. You need something more than snapping on a Nokia logo on the front facade. I know HMD Global isn't the old Nokia, but you guys should do a little better than this. I expected better than this from a company with the name Nokia on. I like the design, keep it this way, but you need to pay attention to little details like older Nokia did. Thank you always for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. You can meet us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. We'll see you guys later. Ciao.